Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. It is probably Thursday at 7 p.m. when you're watching this show, but to give you some complete transparency, it's not Thursday at 7 when we're doing this. We are visitors from the past, folks. Yes, this episode is pre-recorded, but it'll work. Joining me on the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn is none other than Kyle Quinn, back for another rousing episode. Kyle, 33-26. Eagles escaped with the victory. I escaped with the victory, but there's a lot of questions going on, a lot more questions than answers, I think. Tell me how you feel. First of all, how you doing? Sorry about that.
I'm doing good, buddy. I learned a valuable lesson this weekend. Stop betting against the Eagles.
I disagree with that valuable lesson. I think it's appropriate.
I just don't. Like, they feel like they're the Kansas City Chiefs of last year where they just keep finding ways to win. And you can call it luck. You can call it whatever you want. But they're just one of those teams that manages to find ways to do it. And I've done it 2 weeks in a row now, and I've been proven a fool both times. So I'm not going to do it anymore, Matty B. You can feel free to take that advice or do not. But I learned a valuable lesson this week, and I am going to carry it with me throughout the season.
Gee, Kyle, I bet you I could probably pull up the audio and recordings from 2023 and get a similar response. And of course, we all know how 2023 all worked out. Now, I'm not saying it's the same type of season, but we are talking a lot of 2023 verbology lately when it comes to the way this Philadelphia Eagle team is playing. Let's go back to Sunday at the link. I almost said the vet. I actually almost said the vet, but let's go back to the link on Sunday and give me your overall summary of what you saw.
Well, I mean, I think without a Zach Bone interception, they're shut out in the first half. And it's probably one of the most miserable offensive halves that this team has put on display in the Nick Sirianni era. I mean, unless you want to take out 2021. But, I mean, that was pitiful. And they had every right to get booed off the field going into halftime. And then, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about all the reasons why, but for some reason, everything started to click for them in the second half, whether they were going off script or not, but they were airing the ball out of necessity, it seems. And, you know, crazy how it happens when you give A.J. Brown, you give Devontae Smith the ball, that everything else starts to open up. And the defense did a good job of holding the Rams to field goals in a lot of different cases. And they did a really good job of finding an exploit on that Rams field goal line, going up against that backup guard who clearly was like a wet paper bag, and lining up their two biggest, strongest defensive linemen up against him. And it worked out for them twice. That was good preparation. And it was one of those things where the Eagles' talent just ended up sort of winning out over the Rams. So, you know, I know the question now becomes, do we get more of the second half Eagles or more of some of the other stuff that we'd seen over the last few weeks? I guess we'll say the entire Kansas City Chiefs game and then the second half of the Cowboys game. There's pretty much two different versions of this Eagles team, this Eagles offense, I should say, that we've seen so far. And, you know, you just like to hope that the version that we saw in the second half is, I mean, that should be the one that they carry over with them, because they are talented enough to be that team. So, you know, we'll see. And, you know, a lot will be determined this week and the next week and the rest of the season, because we got a long way to go. But just one of the craziest innings that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody tuning in right now, if you're dropping comments and expecting us to, or getting mad that I'm not responding or Kyle's not responding, please understand that we are not live. This is pre-recorded, but it's not pre-recorded from 2023. Yes, you might think it is based on that little breakdown by Kyle Quinn, because we were talking again a lot like this in 2023. Kyle, I do want to break this thing down, good, bad, ugly, because there's definitely ample stuff to talk all three of those categories. Let's start with the good. And yeah, I do want to start with the good. The Eagle defense, probably the most question mark of this football team, at least for me going into the season, was with all the losses they had sustained, losing some key members, replacing them with some, you know, let's hope the draft picks work out, lower level free agents. We still have a problem out there at CB2, but for the most part, this Eagle defense has not skipped a beat or missed a beat since the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say they're quite as good as the version of that defense that we saw by the end of the season. They sort of crescendoed into one of the best defenses I've seen around here in a while. I still think they have some things to work out, but with the way they're coached, I do believe that they'll get better and better as the season goes on. They do still have that sort of playmaking tendency about them, and they do have still that bend but don't break type of thing that that Vic Fangio brings to the defense. And I brought that up in the beginning there, where I think one of the biggest, most underrated parts about the game was our ability to get those stops after the Rams had driven down the field and make them have to kick field goals. Now, one of them was missed. This game winner was blocked, but the other times where we didn't let the Rams convert those into touchdowns were huge moments in the game, and basically one of the biggest reasons that we ended up being in that game. So for a few weeks now, the defense getting better as the game has gotten on has pretty much allowed this offense to sort of not hit the ground running and struggle for a little bit before they end up finding their footing.
Now, you mentioned the play of the Eagles for, bend, don't break. And yeah, I still believe that this defense is still sort of kind of working its own identity out, but they have been doing some things that were very reminiscent in 2024. They did force another turnover, which was a huge turnover, kind of set the tone early on in the game. They got the opening drive touchdown out of it and what have you. So and I agree. I don't like bend, don't break. I've never liked bend, don't break. I think bend, don't break eventually, as the season wears on, breaks more than bend, especially as we get later on. So I'm not a big fan of that. And I'm not saying that the Eagles are going to be that way all season long. I think, as I said, they're still sort of figuring out who they are on defense. And we're going to get into some injury issues that are now creeping up on the defensive side of the ball that might greatly affect the team coming up this weekend. But overall, I Zach Bond, who I had I was a little questionable about the way he was going to perform in his sophomore year. There was nothing really to say that he was going to be good at all, other than a great first year, or first year with the Eagles, not first year ever. But I am very pleasantly surprised with the mid-range game of the defense. The run defense kind of got gouged a bit on Sunday, and then the secondary came up when it had to. All in all, based on what the defense came into the season as, you got to be happy with them. You got to be very surprised.
Yeah, you do. I mean, look, if this is the way that they're going to start, and you assume, which you should, because of the way they're coached, that they're going to get better throughout the season, then great place to start. I mean, they look better than they did to start last season, and we saw how that ended up, So I'm with you. And Zach Bond's picked up sort of right where he left off. Feels like he's learning the defense even more than he has. And Fangio trusts him a lot. Now, it was apparently for him just a matter of getting him in the right role, because he's always been a pretty athletic dude. He's fast. He hits hard. He's instinctive, but he's just finally in the right spot, I think, in the right place in this defense. And he's been awesome. I mean, like I said, he's the reason that we had even 7 points on the board in that first quarter there.
Yeah, Stafford on the day, 19 for 33, 196 yards. He averaged about 5.9 yards to throw, 2 touchdowns and a costly interception. Yes, it was early, but it was very costly. And the Eagles defense did get to him once. We're going to also, I want to talk about the Eagles pass rush in terms of sacks so far. Kyron Williams, 20 carries for 94 yards, 4.7 yards a carry. Kuram, eight carries for 53 yards. But most of that damage was done in the first quarter or first half of the game. And yeah, I'm going to transition now to the ugly. And let's talk about that first half, because there, as you mentioned, it was one of the more lethargic. I think I'd like to go back to that. What was it, 2015 Dallas Cowboy week 2 game, the 15-3 game or the 9-3 game where nobody, just that bad of an offensive performance from the Eagles in the first half. How much of that performance, and I'm talking first half only, do you blame or credit to Kevin Padula?
A lot, I guess. I don't know if it's entirely Patullo as much as it is the whole coaching staff. And I'm just not sure how much they trusted or, did at that point, the quarterback. And I think that's something that sort of dates back to last season, the beginning of last year, and 2023, where they're spooked by the amount of times that they were turning the ball over when they got aggressive down the field. And I think that sort of scared both him and Patullo into this conservative approach on offense. And clearly it was like banging your head against the wall, or, in more apt terms, Saquon banging his head against Cam Jurgens' ass on every first down. And then you start behind the sticks, and then they're basically giving up on 3rd and 18, for a team that has this many threats on the outside and a quarterback who, you would think should be able to throw the ball around the schoolyard the way people talk about him, that they would be a little bit more confident in moving the sticks on a 3rd and 15 type of play, but they were never doing that. I mean, they pretty much just bailed, essentially punted on 3rd and 18 by handing it off and then just kicking the ball back away and playing defense. So it's good that they have the defense they can trust and lean on to do that. But I'm sure a lot of it's Kevin Patullo. I'm sure a lot of it's Sirianni. I'm sure a lot of it's the quarterback or their trust in the quarterback. There's a lot of blame to go around there for how that went.
And then we get to the second half. Let's break it down a little bit here. Rams go into the half with a 19-7 lead and pretty much on auto drive. And then the Eagles turn the football over early in the second half. The Rams convert that to a touchdown, make it 26-7. I think the Rams were firing up the planes, checking out of the hotel and getting ready to travel back to the West Coast at the midway point of the third quarter. And you can't do that in the National Football League because I ain't going to lie. It looked like a different Rams team after that touchdown to make it 26-7. They went into more of a prevent, and I'm not going to call it a prevent, but a softer style of zone defense. And then their offense just checked the hell out. And the Eagles, took advantage. And as the second half sort of began and the ball began to be aired out a little bit and more chances were taken, Kyle, how much do you credit the scheme or the route running of the Eagles taking advantage of what was there by the defense, or how much do you credit the defense of the Rams for giving more in the second half of this game?
So, yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear that the Rams stopped being as aggressive. They weren't blitzing Jalen Hurts like they were as much. But also, I think one of the biggest things that happened in the game was getting that turnstile Matt Pryor out of the right tackle spot and putting Fred Johnson in, who handled Jared Verse excellently. I mean, he filled in great when Lane Johnson went out. Matt Pryor that dude was brutal. I mean, the one play where Jalen Hurts got rocked, Saquon had to bail off of his guy because he had to give Matt Pryor some extra help. So Fred Johnson going in changed everything for the Eagles offense. I'll say the other thing is Sean McVay, for as good of a schemer as he is, as good of a play caller as he's a terrible game day head coach. He's not a good game manager. And I think he made a lot of conservative decisions that allowed the Eagles to sort of keep creeping their way back into the game. That's the type of thing where I think Nick Sirianni, to his credit, would put his foot on the gas a little bit more.
Yeah.
And other coaches would put their foot on the gas a little bit more and continue to be aggressive. And Sean McVay didn't. That's kind of been the story of him for a while now. And I know he's a Super Bowl winning coach. And like I said, great play designer, schemer, play caller, all that. But he does that a lot. That's one of his biggest weaknesses as a coach is sort of pulling back a little bit. And I think that had a lot to do with how the Eagles were able to get back in the game. But, you also do have to give the Eagles credit for having the talent and the sight to see that was an opportunity for them to get back in the game. And also, you have to give credit for Nick Sirianni for how the team responded to being down 26-7. It's been a while since the Eagles at this group has been punched in the mouth like that. And man, I mean, they didn't stop fighting at all. Even when it looked like it was really bleak in the beginning of the third quarter, they kept fighting. And that was a big display of how much this team believes in their coaching, their head coach, and in each other.
Jalen Hurts actually was the leader of the fight. 21 for 32 was Hurts on the day. 226 yards, averaging about 7 yards of throw. 3 touchdowns on the afternoon for Hurts. Was sacked 4 times for 24 yards. Saquon Barkley still kind of, spinning his tires. 18 carries for 46 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. But A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert all returned to action for the first time in 2025. On this day, 6 receptions for Brown, 109 yards, 18 yards per catch, and a touchdown. Devontae, 8 catches, 60 yards, 7.5. Dallas Goedert, just the 1 catch, but it was a big one, the 33-yard touchdown pass, all helping the Eagles fight their way back in this game to take a late lead. And then the play that defines the season is Kyle Quinn just dropped off. All right, so we're talking about there's Kyle. You back there, Kyle, man?
I never left. I don't know what happened.
The play that defines the season, Kyle Quinn, Jordan Davis with the block field goal, the scoop and score, to salt it away. Kyle's dropping back in and out. He said he's still here, so let's see where he's at. There he is. Is he there? Kyle, you there? There you go. You're back again. All right. So I don't know what's going on. It's pre-recorded, so we're going to work through it. Jordan Davis.
I'm losing you, buddy.
Oh, you are? Is it better now? Do you got me? Kyle? Kyle Quinn, are you there? Oh, there you go, Kyle. I got you. You can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, here we go. I don't know what's going on, but before it goes on again, let's get my point out. Jordan Davis, play of the game, play of the season, defining moment of the season with the scoop and score, or do you think you should have just kind of went down and that's it? That's the game.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't matter. Probably the smart thing to do is just lay on it, but why not? Let's have a little fun. Let's see the big fella take it all the way down to the house and put it in the end zone and pad that score a little bit. That was fun. That put a little bit of a cherry on top.
How impressed were you about Jordan Davis's performance overall on Sunday?
I mean, that was one of the best games I've ever seen him play. I mean, he chased Matthew Stafford out of bounds before he could get a first down. He stuffed Kyron Williams in the backfield on a critical 4th and 1. And then he made that. I mean, the game-saving block right there. Like that was, you could call that the Jordan Davis game if you wanted to. That was one of the best games I've ever seen him play.
And please keep that in mind as we get to the MVP of the game segment. Let's do the Birds Blast stat pack. All this, of course, resulted in a 33-26 Eagle win. Eagles on the day, 3 for 3 in the red zone. Kyle, they are a perfect 8 for 8 for 100% effectiveness in the red zone.
Yep.
One of the better starts that I can ever remember since at least I've been keeping track of this. You can't get any better than 100%.
And the tush push lives on another week.
Tush push lives on. The Eagles only managed 7 points on Sunday, which now drops their total to first half points of 38 on the season, which is dropped their total down to 12.6 per game. But they went off for 26 more in the second half for a 13 point per average for the season. So it's evenly. I'm going to use the fast start one more week before I let it go forever because Eagles have definitely been getting off to some fast starts. And even though 7 points in the first half is not a fast start, it's been spread out a little bit. Eagles did commit 5 more penalties on Sunday for 50 yards, 20 penalties now on the year. Eagles did force 1 more turnover, which now gives them 3 on the season, which is 1 per game. But they also committed their first turnover of the year. The defensive the offensive line let Jalen Hurts get sacked 4 times for 24 yards. 7 times Jalen Hurts has been sacked so far in 2025. Kyle, one of the bigger understories of this season so far has been the not stellar or maybe usual play of the offensive line. Saquon's having a problem getting going running. Jalen's under duress a lot. What can you take from the slow start of the offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not been excellent. It's not even been great. They're moving guys in and out. Landon Dickerson was out for, I think, like a half a game. Lane Johnson went out, had some trouble with Matt Pryor. Tyler Steen is a new right guard. I think that's something where they'll just end up figuring it out. Because Saquon to me doesn't look like he's lost a step, but the offensive line isn't opening up big gaping holes like they were throughout the course of the season last year. And I also think a lot of that has to do with just the fact that teams haven't been respecting the Eagles passing game because they haven't been given a reason to. So this might be one of those scenarios where you have to sort of do the reverse. The Eagles were able to run to set up the pass last season, and it's not really been working for them this year. And you saw that bear out in the first half.
The defense got to Stafford only 1 time on the day. 3 sacks so far for the Eagle defense, not on the season, not necessarily something you can get excited about. It's only 1 sack a game. I mean, they're averaging 1 a game. But they are starting to lead the league in almost sacks as they seem to be getting there, but not quite there. Does that concern you any bit, especially with the wonkiness of our secondary right now? And then we got a whole bunch of injuries to talk about this week.
Yep.
Does that aspect of the Eagles game kind of concern you a bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a carryover from last season where they didn't get tons of I mean, I remember it's hard to think back in terms of negatives of last year because they went on that crazy run and won the Super Bowl. But one of the things we said is this defensive line isn't like crazy good at getting pressure just with their front 4. Yeah. They're not again this season. But the difference was last year they had a really, really tough secondary that was able to sort of make up for it. And they might have gotten some coverage sacks here and there last season. They're not really getting those. So they need to really shore up one of those areas on the defense. And especially now, as you mentioned, since it looked like they're getting a little bit banged up, both sides.
And on 4th down effectiveness, the Eagles were 4 for 5 going for it on 4th down on Sunday. Now for 5 for 6 on the season, 83%. All of that leads to a 33-26 Eagles victory. Back on the Pick'em segment, we did this, and Kyle went he went against the grain. He took the Rams in this game, and he had I think Nakua as your MVP. I took the Eagles, and I had Saquon as my MVP. I think it's safe to say neither one of us hit the MVP. I mean, you could make a discussion for Nakua, especially if they won. But at Barkley, you really can't. Jordan Davis, are we giving it to him this week, Kyle?
It's got to be. I mean, like, that was the Jordan Davis game.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle Quinn is now 1-2 on the season, and I have improved to 2-1. And we'll see if I can keep that up because I definitely need to rebound from a very bad 2024. So.
And I learned a valuable lesson.
When Kyle learned a valuable lesson, so it's going to be Eagles and Jalen Hurts the rest of the way. I'm having a feeling, having a real strong feeling about that. All right, let's turn the page because we're moving on to Tampa, Voodoo City for the Eagles, going down there to Raymond James. I don't know if they still call it Raymond James Stadium.
Yes,
down
they
there,
do.
and they still call it that. Good for them. Good for them for not selling out. Eagles and Buccaneers on Sunday. Let's get into it. It is going to be a balmy 90 degrees on kickoff, at kickoff with 70% humidity and a 25% chance of rain. I guess the Eagles can leave all their parkas and winter hats at home. Kyle Quinn, does this factor into some of the mystique around playing in Tampa?
Well, I mean, yeah, this is a typical September game in Tampa Bay. It's, I mean, they would be lucky if it weren't this way. And, you know, it always seems like it's raining or extremely hot every single time that they go down there. But yeah, I mean, that's going to factor in for the Eagles in a big way. I mean, if they keep letting the Bucs drive down the field in these long chunks, then the defense is going to be tired quick, and we could be looking at something ugly, sort of like it was last season.
Yep, and the Gridiron database is reporting that the Buccaneers will go with they're not wearing the throwbacks. I really wish they would have worn the throwbacks this week, but they're not going to go with the pirate and the creamsicle colors this week. They're going back to their pewter and red. They'll be wearing their white tops and their dark bottoms. The Eagles have not officially announced it, but the database is saying that the Eagles are going to go with the green tops and white bottoms. I can buy that. That's probably what they will go with. And by the way, Kyle, you mentioned Wentz whites last week. I knew you would be wrong. And I think I picked the exact uniform. I said white tops and green bottoms, and that's exactly what they did.
Because there's no way to ever know.
Yeah, those Wentz whites are god awful. Thank God they don't wear them. But now let's get into the game. Let's get into the injury report. I don't have because this is Wednesday. I know it's out by the time you people are watching this, but I don't have the official injury report in front of me for this game for either team. But we're going to talk about what we do know. Lane Johnson left the game on Sunday against the Rams with a stinger. The Eagles are making and I don't think there's anything to say that he won't be a go on Sunday, but we're going to have to wait and see if he's going to probably be a game time decision. Fred Johnson and Matt Pryor, you mentioned the turnstile that Matt Pryor was. I'm not going to give you the obligatory how important is Lane Johnson to this offensive line because we already know you don't replace a Hall of Famer. You don't replace an all-time Eagle. But how important is Lane Johnson to this offensive line, Kyle Quinn?
Yeah, I mean, hugely. Like Fred Johnson filled in great, but, you know, if you have a guy that basically gives up 0 sacks and you can lock that in every week, then – that's massive. And look, I mean, you can go back to last season when they played the Bucs. They didn't have Lane Johnson. You saw how that worked out. And a guy like Todd Bowles, who loves to blitz from every single way, up, down, side to side. You know, that's something that he's looking at if Lane Johnson can't go, or even if he's a little bit hobbled, that they're going to try and take advantage of that.
Now, also on the injury front, a little bit more of a juicier story. Nolan Smith, Jacorian Bennett, and Darius Cooper have all been placed on injured reserve with various problems. Nolan Smith, I guess, aggravated his tricep problem against the Cowboys that he had last year, so he's now been IR'd. None of these players that I just mentioned can return until after the Week 9 bye. In their stay, the Eagles went out and signed Marcus Epps, Cameron Latu, Perry Nickerson, Lance Dixon, Eli Ricks, and Quez Watkins have returned to the practice squad. Kyle, this is a little bit of a bigger story. Let's talk Nolan Smith and Jacorian Bennett, maybe somewhat more so Nolan Smith, but in a defense that is still trying to find his personality and a secondary, of course, that's still dealing with a lot of upheaval. Now I'm hearing Keely Ringo might get a lot of an opportunity back there on Sunday. The Nolan Smith, Jacorian Bennett news is huge.
Yeah. I mean, Nolan Smith's probably been their best edge rusher, I think, through the first 3 games. So that's going to be a huge loss for a while. Hopefully Darius Smith and the other guys can fill in. Probably see Azeez Ojulari activated for the first time all season. But, you know, Keely Ringo, nobody wants to see him play. I mean, he was brutal in the preseason. I don't really think I'm not highly anticipating his return to action against the Bucs. The other thing to look out for, Zach Ball in practice with a knee brace. Now he said he was going to be good to go. And Jahad Campbell, I think, got a sleeve on his leg as well. And he said that he's day-to-day. So the one thing I'd look out for, if both the linebackers can go, do they try rushing Jahad Campbell from the outside and, trying to get a little bit creative with that? That's something that he did in college. And I'm wondering if they might try to tap into that a little bit this week. But who knows? Don't want to put too much on the kid's plate so early on. But you never know with that kind of thing. They're going to have to find creative ways to get pass rush on Baker Mayfield.
And Adoree Jackson's also nursing a bad groin. So the Eagles go into this game a little clipped up. Let's talk a little bit about the Buccaneers. The big story out of Tampa here is the availability of not Hassan Reddick. He should be back. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Mike Evans has been ruled out. Chris Godwin, they're trying to get him back for this game. I guess if your secondary is banged up, that's how you counteract it. You take away the team's number one wide receiver and possibly their number two, right?
Yeah, Mike Evans being out is good. If they get Godwin back, I still worry a little bit about him and the rookie Buka, who's been really solid over the first 3 weeks. They have a tough receiving core over there.
They do. Baker's got a foot problem that he's been dealing with, but nothing significant. And that's really kind of right now, that's all I'm aware of with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading into the Sunday's game injury-wise. Both teams 3-0, Kyle Quinn. With all that being said, and everything that we just talked about, what does Kyle Quinn see happening on the field of Raymond James Sticky Stadium on Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. The history down in Tampa Bay doesn't really bother me that much. Last season, they were without A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Lane Johnson. I would expect the Eagles to have all three of those guys this week. And the Buccaneers this season, while they're 3-0, they've kind of won in, I think, some similar ways as the Eagles, except I would even describe them as a little bit more lucky. And they've won by the skin of their teeth in a lot of these games. I think the Eagles are just a better team. And like I said, I learned a valuable lesson Sunday. I think this Eagles team has just figured out a winning formula. And if you want to go back and forth about this stupid 2023 thing.
Absolutely. All season long.
I just don't agree. And I have plenty of reasons why. But I think this Eagles team has just figured out ways to win football games. And I think they'll do it again on Sunday.
Even though it's the same type of conversation, the same elements that are lending the talk of 2023 are now lending the talk in 2025. Yes, it is.
No,
yes,
it
is.
No. Okay, 2023.
What's different? Tell me what's different about 2023.
I'll tell you. I'll give you a bunch of things that are different. 2023.
Defense is one.
2023, they had a horrendous defense. Not only a horrendous defense talent-wise, they were old, and they were very poorly coached. Okay. They are now young, fast, aggressive, and very, very well coached. They also have a team that is, while we argue about how conservative they are and we complain about how conservative they are, you know what they had on offense in 2023? Big time turnover problem. Time turnover problem. That's something they also do not have. The other thing they have, and this is sort of a minor thing, but they have a team that just came up. Like, look, 2022, while they went to the Super Bowl, they weren't really battle tested, and we saw that when they ended up playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That when they got into one of those close games, they didn't know how to win a close game. Right? They were just blowing teams out. And while we thought it was fun at the time, it ended up biting them. They weren't experienced in those kind of games. This team now is experienced in those kind of games. It just went through it all last season, and they're finding ways to do it again this year. And I think they have that with them. They've carried that with them, and they have a head coach now and a defensive coach who they respect and prepare really well. There's just the parallels between the two teams, 2023 to now, this is a younger, more aggressive, more prepared, better team. And in 2023, they were a less prepared, less battle-tested, older, crappier defense, and a turnover problem on offense.
So with the young defense, I agree. It's a younger defense compared to the 2023 with a better coordinator. I'll give you that 100%. But I don't care how young they are or how old they are. If you keep them out on the field as the season wears on, they're going to start breaking down. They're already starting to break down, for God's sakes. I mean, the defense is pretty dinged up right now with injuries. So I get you with the young, aggressive defense right now, but if things are still trending this way by week 11, who knows what this defense is going to look like physically or emotionally by then. So I hear what you're saying, but the course of the season wears you out. And if the Eagle defense has got to get on the field more to counteract what's happening with the offense, it's going to take their toll on them. In a negative way, I don't know. But again, it's not out of the realm of possibility. As far as the turnover problem, you've said it yourself on this program. Why aren't they turning the ball over? Because they don't let the quarterback make those. They don't put him in that situation to turn the ball over. They try to mitigate that from him. Do you not agree with it? You've said it, Kyle.
No, but Matt, of course, but there's a middle ground between turning the ball over all over the field and taking shots where you're almost like, look, I have a defense that's good enough. If God forbid we do turn the football over, that, you know, we can prevent that from biting us, right? Like, so there's a difference between turning the ball over 3 times in a game and just like, you know, 0, right? There's 1, maybe 2, right? But we saw when the Eagles opened it up in the third quarter, well, Jalen Hurts took that, he got fumbled. That was still before they had Fred Johnson out there. After that, they were airing the ball all over the schoolyard and they didn't turn the ball over. Like, it is possible for them to do that.
Absolutely, so, but it's also possible for them to take advantage of a Rams defense that was sitting back. Now, again, week 3, I get it. Well, it's week 3, and we're going to let the stuff play out. As far as the know how to win nonsensical unicorn Bigfoot stuff, you know,
what's nonsensical about
we
that?
know how to win because we're you know, okay. That doesn't mean nothing, honestly.
Well, it does.
If you don't perform, you don't execute, you don't win. I don't care how much you know about how to do it. You don't do it, you don't win.
It's a moniker for a team that's very well prepared and has been in a variety of situations, and they know how to handle those situations. And that comes with preparation. They are a very well prepared football team because they're just better coached.
That's fine. If you think they're very, very better prepared, if Saquon Barkley doesn't figure out and return to some sort of semblance, not exactly, but some sort of semblance to his 2024 ways, and if Vic Fangio can continue to sprinkle the fairy dust on the defense, they'll be fine. But if we can't get Saquon back to any sort, if he needs to pick it up, if he cannot, I don't care how much they know about winning, it's going to wear them down, and the passing game is going to come back and bite them on the ass.
Yeah, you know, it might. And I don't disagree with anything you said. I'm just telling you that there's no real parallels between how they're winning now and how they were winning for that long stretch of 2023. That's why I see a major difference in
huge
those
parallels. But we're not agreeing, and that's good, Kyle. We're back to disagreeing, and we're agreeing way too much lately, and it was starting to scare me. And I'm glad we're back to more common ground now. But all right. By the way, for those of you watching, this is the Bird Blast with Kyle Quinn on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, pre-recorded. If you're watching this on Thursday or later, September 25th. We're not there. We're not here. We're doing this in the past. So by one day, it's Wednesday where we're here. But I just want you to understand that if you're dropping loads of comments trying to chastise Kyle for being a homer and supporting me, or other way around, and then no one's responding to those comments.
I'll be keeping an eye out.
I'm giving you the reason why no one's commenting, or responding. All right, Kyle, let's go to the pick'em. Oh no, I'm sorry. Key matchup. What the hell am I doing? You got me off my game. Key matchups, Kyle. I need 3 of them. Give me 3 key matchups in this game, Eagle Buccaneers.
Yeah, well, it's going to be whoever the hell's backing up Ja'Cory Bennett and Adoree Jackson. I guess it's Keely Ringo, the secondary, versus those Bucs receivers. That's going to be a massive one. I'll give you Jalen Hurts and Kevin Patullo versus Todd Bowles. You know, Todd Bowles is going to be he's Mr. Blitz. The Eagles haven't been as good against the blitz this season as they were last season, and we know what Todd Bowles is famous for, so that's going to be a tough one there. And then I'll give you the interior of the Eagles offensive line versus that stout defensive line led by big old Vita Vea up the middle there, who's given the Eagles tons of problems, giving the Eagles run game tons of problems. That's going to be a big one.
I'm going Baker Mayfield against the Eagles front four. If there's been a part of the defense that has not kind of risen to the occasion, it's been that front four. We're getting really good play out of the linebackers. We're getting decent play out of 3/4 of the secondary, but we're getting a little to nothing from the front four. And now they're starting to leak oil on the run game. Baker, is he the most mobile quarterback in the world? No, but I think he's more mobile than Pat Mahomes, and definitely more mobile than Stafford. Is he a better thrower than Pat Mahomes? No. Is he somewhere in the middle between Pat Mahomes and Stafford? Yeah. So it should balance out. So I'm interested to see what kind of game plan the front four does have against Stafford or friggin' Mayfield. Do they blitz them? Do they let them pass? Do they take advantage of the 1 and 2 wide receivers being out? I want to see that chess match. Eagles offense against, as you said, Todd Bowles. Yes, he blitzes them, and he takes advantage of Jalen Hurts' weakest part of his quarterback game, his ability to read defenses, and specifically how to read blitzes. A lot of delayed blitzes when the Eagles play the Buccaneers. Bowles disguises them pretty well and then unleashes them, and it usually confuses the hell out of Hurts. Does that continue on, or does somebody finally find a way to end that? And then the Eagles not winning in Tampa is my other matchup. I had to go on rants and rants about the Phillies not being able to win in Citi Field. The champions win no matter where the hell they play. They just play and they win there. It doesn't matter where it's at. Stop using that. And for the sake of ending the argument, I need the Eagles to win in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know if I buy the whole like voodoo magic thing about the Bucs. Sometimes I think it's sort of wrong place, wrong time for the Eagles. The one playoff game was when they were just full-fledged collapse, and the Buccaneers were they were on the rise. We were totally pitfalling at that point when we caught them there. Earlier that year, actually, the Eagles.
It was in 21. They also lost in the playoffs to Tom
Yeah,
Brady.
no, right. We just weren't a very good team in 2021. Yeah. Then in early 2023, actually, this is a game in Tampa we don't really talk about. We sort of snatched their will in that game. We beat them pretty good and had like a 9-minute drive where Todd Bowles just gave up, had all 3 timeouts, didn't use a single one of them. And then there was the loss, of course, in the postseason where, the one last year, I should say, where we were pretty beaten up. No AJ, no Devontae, no Lane Johnson. I think the receivers were like John Ross, me and you out there for that one. So Paris Campbell
passes that day for 416 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was that was a brutal one, and we couldn't get Baker and the Bucs off the field. So, I think things will be a little bit different this time. So I don't know. I'm hoping, but if they're not, then maybe it is some serious voodoo magic down there.
Voodoo magic, like they have at Citi Field, Oracle Park, I guess Chase Field in Arizona. Apparently, there's some voodoo magic around professional sports when it comes to our teams.
Yep.
Eagles, Kyle, what's your Eagles' keys to victory?
So the first one, and this is going to be a little bit of I'd say a major departure from what they've been doing offensively. It's time to use the pass to set up the run. That the 2 best versions of the run game, I'll say, and this offense, if you think about it, first half against the Cowboys, second half against the Rams. What was the biggest difference? They're throwing the ball. They're pushing the safeties back. All of a sudden, things start opening up for Saquon. The best versions of Saquon we saw were in that first half against the Cowboys, the second half against the Rams. I get the whole aggressive conservative type thing. You don't want to turn the ball over, but like I said, we have a good enough defense. We have a good enough team to where if God forbid they turn the ball over one time, I would almost take it just to keep pushing the ball down the field. It's going to open everything up, and they have so many guys to where they can take advantage of that. So they should flip it. It's time for them to use the pass to set up the run. The second one is, get the Bucs offense off the field as soon as they possibly can. If they want to get creative with the blitzes, I know they're having trouble off the edge. Vic Fangio can find ways to get a 3 and out. Then that's going to be huge because we know how hot it's going to be. We know how tough it's going to be on these Eagles defenders if they have to sustain long drives, trying to stop the Bucs and getting them off the field. Then that'll be trouble for us, and it'll be a long, long day for them. And then the third one, of course, is have a plan for Todd Bowles and his blitzing. And I don't know what it is, whether it's let Jalen run through the teeth of it like they did against Spagnuolo and the Chiefs, or have somebody build in A.J. Brown, Devontae, Goddard, set up right over the middle and hit them and force Todd Bowles to have to back off a little bit, and that'll help open things up for everybody else too.
We come out sort of in the same universe here. Mine is number 3 is last week. I'll say it. If they do it, I'm done with the fast starts. I know I've said that before, but so far, 3 touchdowns in the first quarter and 2 opening drive touchdowns through 3 games. I'll take that. I think we had 2 all of last season in the opening quarter or opening drive. So I'm done with that. If they can maintain a fast start this Sunday, take chances, as you say. All the talk about Jalen Hurts being an elite quarterback versus talk of Jalen Hurts just being a really good quarterback, really to me boils down to the fact that for some odd reason they're not letting him throw the football around the yard, and I don't know the reason. Do they see the same thing I see, or do they see the same thing anybody else sees? Let the kid play. Let the kid throw the football. He's got 2 of the best wide receivers in all of football, and when healthy, one of the top 10 tight ends in all of football. So let him throw the football around the field. And as you mentioned, the defense has gotten to a point that it's good enough to where they could probably withstand a turnover or 2 in a game, and more cleaner halves, more consistent halves. I don't need them to go out, and they've been doing it off script this year. They've been scoring a lot in the first half, not much in the second. Last week it was nothing in the first. All in the second mostly. A little bit more consistently with the scoring. I don't need a shower of booze to accompany the Philadelphia Eagles into halftime every week. Let's play a little bit more of a consistent game. You are the defending Super Bowl champs, for God's sakes.
Yep. Let's hope they are being booed by the Tampa Bay crowd at halftime. That means the Eagles are putting it on them this week. I will say, Matt,
home games.
Yeah, right. Don't give up the fight on the fast starts just yet, because I don't think I'm counting last week as a fast start. I mean, it was one of the most miserable halves I've ever seen, and Zach Baldwin put him in position to score that touchdown. Without it, I think they're being shut out. So
okay, so I'm gonna go with Kyle, and I'm sticking with fast starts for the time being. We'll re-examine this in a few weeks and see where you stand.
Good.
All right, Kyle, give me your prediction, your score, and your game MVP.
All right. I expect the Eagles to open it up. Not expecting a big bombs away and tons of points just yet. So I'll go 27. I will say 23. We stop the Bucs on what should be a game-winning touchdown drive. They don't get it, and I will go with Jalen Hurts as the MVP.
So just fill it all out for now, man. Just I mean, come on, man.
I picked 2 losses 2 weeks in a row.
I know. Right? I know you. I don't think you've ever done that.
Don't want to hear it.
You ever done that? I am going Tampa. I think the voodoo magic continues for the Buccaneers on Sunday. I think they might open it up a little bit. I don't think they do as much as everybody's expecting them to. And I don't think Tampa's defense is going to give them that opportunity. And I like this game. The score is going to sound like a blowout, but it doesn't necessarily get to this point till late. I like the Buccaneers 28-10, and Baker Mayfield is your game MVP.
Oh, 10. Yeah, that would mean they don't go aggressive and they go back to that conservative approach. I am a little bit worried about that. So
that's what I'm looking at, Kyle Quinn. All right. Last segment of the show, and that is to the question of the week. But before I get to the question of the week, again, remind everybody that we are on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. This is the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, and you are listening to the quintessential When Eagle pregame show entertainment. We look back and we look forward. This is pre-recorded, this episode. So if you're dropping comments and you're getting pissed off that why nobody's acting like you're there, it's because we're not there. We are pre-recorded. So I just want to make sure that my vaunted audience understands that, because we've had this problem before. All right. And I just want to make sure you understand that this is pre-recorded. I'm running a scroll and everything on the bottom of the screen. But all right. Question of the week, Kyle Quinn. With the Eagles offense being so predictable and bland and ugly and, bad coming out of that first half, 5 quarters of football or 5 halves of football, essentially, that led up to that point. There was a little dust up on the sidelines. There was some shouting going on between the offensive coordinator, the wide receiver, the quarterback, and all of a sudden they come out and they're flinging the ball around the yard. Kyle Quinn, who was calling plays in the second half? Was it Kevin Patula, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, a combination of all three, A.J. Brown? Who was orchestrating the offensive renaissance in the second half of that game? And is there the seeds of drama llama being planted in this clubhouse, in this locker room, on this sideline, much like 2023?
No, I knew this question was coming. And if you think anyone other than Kevin Patula was reading the play calls off the sheet, then you've completely lost your mind. I mean, now, was Jalen Hurts going a little bit off script, making more checks at the line? Maybe, sure, that's a normal thing. But the big dust up that we saw was when the Eagles it was 21-26, and by, I think, the end of the third quarter. So that was after the Eagles offense already started going. That, to me, just looked like a lot of heated communication on the sideline, which I think is a pretty normal thing. The broadcast showed Kevin Patullo reading the play sheet through the headset. And I just love this whole idea that we've already decided after 2 games, and I was with a lot of people, Kevin Patullo bad. So when the offense looks good, it can't possibly be Kevin Patullo, can it? Well, I got news for everybody. It was. So you just got to hope that they found something. And look, I mean, maybe it was a matter of how much they trusted Jalen. And they're off of that now. But I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep the same energy. And when the play calls look bad, I'm going to give it to Kevin Patullo. When the play calls look good, you got to give it to Kevin Patullo again till somebody tells us otherwise.
Yeah, I kind of side with you. I'm not necessarily, in terms of the whole offensive coordinator situation. Listen, this guy is not some hobo off the street. I mean, he's been around an NFL program. He's been working with NFL teams. They wouldn't give him the job overall if he was not qualified to do it. And I know there's got to be a quality control going back and forth those sidelines. People are listening to those plays, and Nick Sirianni is jumping in saying, no, I don't want that, or maybe we do this. There's a communication process. It's not just him yelling, on the sidelines, twisting his handlebar mustache, going, yeah, let's run the ball No, there's more going on out there than that.
And I think another simple explanation for it is that the Eagles are down 19 points. I mean, they don't have a choice but to start throwing at that point, do they? So,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So I wasn't quick to hang Brian Johnson out to dry in 2023. And I'm not going to, because honestly, 3 offensive coordinators, 3 straight years. We've had the same issues 3 straight seasons. I don't know, man, but the offense stays the same. So I don't know if it's the offensive coordinator, but I agree with you, Kyle Quinn. All right, my man. Thank you for coming on. This is kind of how this show goes. And I've warned everybody out there about this. We are supposed to be on Thursdays at 7. We will do everything we possibly can to be on Thursdays at 7. But how we get there and the frequency of how we get there is anyone's guess throughout the season. It's what makes this show so fun to do, because it's a lot of jumping through hoops and trying to get in where we can. So I do appreciate, Kyle, you coming on every week doing this. Before I let you go, man, where can the folks find you?
Yep. On 94 WIP. That is 10 to 2 every Monday through Friday. And then on Twitter at _Kyle_Quinn.
Any last comments, Kyle, before I let you go?
Goodbye, Matt. And I will see you next week. Can't wait to fight again.
Goodbye, Kyle Quinn. And yes, the fight will be on. We were agreeing way too much over the past season and a half. Season and 3 games. Season and 2 games. What are we at? 3 games? How many games do we ended the season? 3. Season and 3 games. We were agreeing a lot. But thankfully, Kyle brought out a ridiculous statement to say that this has no resemblance or no connection to 2023. And I think it has everything to do with that. And I am going to be interested to know how this season, of course, works it out. But that's going to do it. We are going to do one more segment, and then we're going to turn this thing over. Again, remind everybody out there that you're watching It's a Wrap Sports Network here on Thursday night at 7. This is when this is airing. So I'm going to put the schedule up here on the screen. If it's Thursday night, you're seeing this. You got the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn happening right now. Right after this show's over, you got the Gridiron Weekly, the Attacking Third, Phillies and Marlins, Flights Final, and then me coming back at you at 10 o'clock for the Final Word with Matty B. If you're not watching this on Thursday, then just add up the appropriate day that you're watching this on. And if it's this week, you know what to do. But we're going to go into my Pick'em segment now. This is the part of the show where I reveal how I did in week 2 or week 3 in my Pick'em games in the NFL. Of course, I go with every game, no spreads, just straight up winners. I was 12-4. Man, I'm off to an amazing start in 2025, a lot better than I was in 2024. 12-4 last week, 32-14 now on the season. And let's go with our week 4 picks. Again, I'm going with the Buccaneers that continue the voodoo magic over the Eagles down in Tampa, 28-10. The Thursday night game, the game that's happening, again, if you're watching this on Thursday night, probably in about a few minutes, the Seahawks and Arizona Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals in this game. I'm starting to come aboard with the Cardinals. The game on Sunday morning, because we got ourselves in Scotland, Ireland, somewhere in the UK. We got the Minnesota Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers going at it Sunday morning at 9:30. Give me Minnesota. Washington and Atlanta. Give me the Commanders. Saints and Buffalo. Come on, really? Give me Buffalo. Cleveland versus the Lions. Give me the Lions. Carolina and the Patriots. I'm going Carolina. I'm telling you, man. Carolina Panthers are coming. Chargers and the Giants. The Chargers. Tennessee and Houston. I am staying with Houston. I know I don't really want to do that. Houston might be on their way out, but I still think they're a better team than the Titans. Indy against the Rams. Dan Jones be damned. Give me the Rams to bounce back in this game. Jacksonville and San Francisco. Give me San Francisco. Baltimore and Kansas City. Kansas City's had a hell of a start to their season. I'm going with Kansas City to deliver another loss to the Baltimore Ravens. I think they'd be 1-3 after this game. So I'm going with the Chiefs on this. This is the game that turns around Kansas City's season. This is the game that gets them back into the conversation. The Cubs, the Bears versus the Raiders. I'm going with the Raiders. I don't care. I can see either one of these teams losing or either one of them winning, but I'm going with the Raiders. Sunday night football, the Packers and the Cowboys. Give me the Packers. Monday night, we got another doubleheader this Monday. The Jets at Miami started off. Give me the Jets. And then the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Denver Broncos. Give me Denver in this game. And there you have Matty B's week 4 picks. Again, 32-14 to start the season. I am on these games. 12-4 last week in week 3. So I want to thank Kyle Quinn once again for joining me. I want to thank everybody out there for tuning in. And remember, this is a pre-recorded show. This is not happening right now. You're not going to be able to, if you're commenting, don't get upset when nobody else is responding to you because we're pre-recorded. But thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week, hopefully live. We're going to make every attempt to do that. So we'll see you then. Go Birds. Have yourself a good night. Make sure you're staying with us here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network for everything we got to offer. Take care.